Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another live stream here at my YouTube channel. Tonight I'm going to be playing with a stencil that came out in December, I believe. It's my Geo Mod stencil. I don't think I've ever used it live and I love the stencil so much. I thought it would make a really great thank you card paired with my thank you words stamp and dies that just came out this month. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I don't have any housekeeping to go over tonight, so I think we're just going to jump right into the card. Like I said, tonight we are going to be using these two products. I've got my Geo Mod Stencil Pack, which actually has 3 stencils, I believe. Let me get these out. Yeah, 3 stencils. And I mean, really, well, we'll get into it, but you don't have to have these lined up perfectly. You might want to just for the centers of these little flowers, but you don't necessarily don't have to. I'm going to pair it with the Thank You Words stamp set, which actually has the dies that go with it. So let's get into it. I'm going to do a 5x7 card today. And so I already have my card base. It's technically going to be a 1-layer card. Well, not really, because we are going to pop up the letters that say thank you. So here we go with this. In fact, you know, I just realized I'm doing a portrait card, so I'd much rather see it in portrait. So I'm actually going to do my grip mat like this. Then here I've got my 5x7 card base, and I'm just going to stick that down. Da, da, da. And then I've got my 3 stencils. Now I'm going to make sure that all of the stencils are in the right orientation. So I've got the etched on this corner right here. It's going to be the top corner for this, you know, instance. But here we go. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to probably have it come down a little bit. And I'm also going to mark this top corner just with a little bit of Post-it tape. And that's going to help me get everything lined up for the next 2 stencils. Okay, as far as inks go, I'm just kind of doing like a pink, yellow, blue, almost like a, what's the word? Like a primary colors a little bit. So I'm going to start with Aqua Sky. Okay, I'm starting with Aqua Sky, and I want to keep this really light. In fact, you know what I just realized? That top edge is very much in danger of being ink blended. So I'm grabbing some wide Post-it tape and just masking that off. There we go. I feel much better about that now. Okay, so I'm going to come in with like a very light hand because I've just discovered when I'm using my C9 inks and I'm going to have overlapping colors, if you really go in heavy-handed and it's very, very saturated, it can start to look a little mottled when you know, like you start overlapping the colors. Okay, all right, I came in on this a little heavy-handed and I'm kind of regretting it. For this large section right here, can you guys see that? The large, almost looks like a popsicle. I'm gonna come in on the edges and not really come in on the center because I really want it to offer some overlapping, kind of an overlapped look. So I'm just going to ink blend. It's a little bit hard to see in these bright lights, especially since I'm keeping everything really light. But this card is going to work up super, super fast. I'm going to save my big Post-it tape right here for the next stencil. And I'll just lift this up. Oh my word, it's so bright in here. Sorry, y'all. I'm going to use my wide Post-it tape just to cover up that edge once again. And switching to a yellow blending brush. Get that nice and juicy. And just come in and ink blend over the top. I'll get this center right here as well. Okay, when I do these like larger shapes here, like I did with this big shape here, you know, I should, hold on. I should just, hold on. I'm gonna adjust the brightness on my camera. All right, I'm coming in just on the outer edge So I'm not gonna like completely overpower what's already there. Then I can just kind of blend from that center to get the donut shape. Okay. Save my big Post-it tape for the next layer. And there we have that one. All right, last stencil. I'm going to double check where that the etched words are right there, just to make sure. Get that corner lined up. And then I can kind of see where it goes over that center for the flower. All right, I'm using Honeysuckle this time. Starting a little bit off where it's going to stencil on, just to see how juicy my brush is. Mostly just for the big open shapes. Oh, that looks cute. Maybe we'll add a little more color on this edge just to get that evened out. How about that? Work slowly. Get the outer edges of the flower first. And then I can come in and kind of get the center. Probably would be easier to do this with a smaller brush as well, but here we are. All right, so it's more concentrated on the outer edge. Works lovely. Okay, this big popsicle shape like I did with the blue, I'm going to concentrate the color on the outer edge and then have it come in to the middle just a little bit. Blending in. Okay. Ta-da! Ooh, I love how striking that pink is. All right, so I'm just gonna bring in a little bit of that pink down here, just to give it a little bit of a different look. Okay, so I've just got a little bit of that pink down there. I kind of like it coming up this side here. It looks nice. So I'm going to blend that up a little bit. Okay, I like that. I think that's fun. All right, so now we are going to be working on the greeting that's going to go on this card. And I thought I would use my thank you words, stamps, and dies. So here are the thank you words, stamps, and dies. There are the dies. Here's the stamp set. And I have some tips for you when you're doing any of my stamp sets that have this style where it's the really thin monoline font, and then you have the big bold letters that you cut out the word with. I'm going to share some tips with you. If you watched the walkthrough for my March release, you already know these tips, but you're going to see them in action. Okay. These big, long, skinny words, right? Especially this thank you because it's really, really long. The way you remove it from the stamp sheet will either make or break your success in die cutting these well. I find that if you pull it from the stamp sheet like this, just a little bit at a time, it's going to help you to not stretch it out. Just peel it a little bit at a time until it finally releases from the stamp sheet. Okay, when we go to put it back on the stamp sheet, when we're done stamping, I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, I'm going to be doing my letters on black. And, oh, I already have it out. I'm going to be using some Hero Arts Pitch Black cardstock. So I'm just going to have it right there. Close the door of my MISTI. All right, and then I'm going to prep the area with an anti-static powder tool. It's going to put out a lot of powder. Don't be afraid. We're going to get rid of the powder with a microfiber cloth later. You're going to see it all over this black cardstock. But you know what? It's almost like the more powder you see, the less likely you're going to have embossing powder go in places where you don't want it. Okay, that's a lot of powder. Do not be alarmed. I promise, it will go away. All right, I'm gonna be using white embossing powder eventually, so I'm gonna use white pigment ink. I've just discovered that it works a whole lot better. I can see where it's stamped, I can see where it's missed, I can come back and stamp again. I'm gonna come in with my white pigment ink. It also, I love having the white pigment ink because I can see it on the stamp. I know when I have enough ink on the stamp. And then these are such little dainty stamps. Like I'm just gonna let it kiss the paper. Like, I don't want it to blob out. The stamps, as we've discovered, why we pulled it off so carefully, it can stretch, it can smush. It gives and takes. Yeah. So I'm being very careful. And because I use the white pigment ink, I can also, beautiful. I can also see if I missed anything and then I could stamp it again. I'm gonna call it. I think that's a good stamp. Actually, the top of the end looks like it could use a little more ink. Hold on. We're gonna stamp one more time. Just because I'm a perfectionist. Double checking to make sure that's in that bottom corner. Give a little attention to the top of that N. There we go. And if you don't have any of those lines blobbing out, which is what we wanted to prevent. Okay, I'm gonna clean the stamp here in a minute, but before I do anything else, I'm gonna apply my embossing powder because I want to get the embossing powder on there while the ink is very wet. That's when you're gonna have the best results. Now, pigment ink does not dry so fast that, I mean, you have to do it within like 30 seconds or anything, but it will, I've discovered it will dry faster than using like an embossing ink. Like Versamark, so forgiving. You can add your embossing powder, I swear, 3 weeks after you've stamped it. I'm exaggerating. You probably have about 10 minutes at max. But with this, oh, chef's kiss. Beautiful. White pigment ink. It works so well, especially if it's a juicy. Beautiful. Do you see that? It's so nice. I love embossing on Hero Arts embossing, or Hero Arts Pitch Black. Okay, I'm taking my microfiber cloth. Look how much powder, like if this is the anti-static powder that was everywhere, it's gonna go away. We're just gonna use our microfiber cloth and a little bit of elbow grease. Like I'm pressing with quite a bit of pressure. Make sure your embossing powder that you've melted is completely cooled off because you don't want to smear and smudge it. Because ask me how I know. I've done that. Okay. So I'm just going along the edges here. You can also, if the powder's not coming off, you can use the oils from your fingertips. I learned that tip from Kathy Zilski, who's in the chat. All right. So I'm just kind of wiping this up, and it's amazing. It takes away all that extra powder. Some more tips for you. Okay, so here's our lovely little die cutting sandwich that we're putting together, right? Now, the way we put it through our die cutting machine will make or break this die cutting experience. So first, like any other thing, we're going to try to get this lined up the best we can. And I've learned this, particularly with this thank you, you really just have to spend the time and try to get it lined up the best you can. And because it is so long, sometimes you might have to restamp it as the second word and die cut the second word separate, just because, you know, it may have stretched or something. Like mine right now looks like it's not going to line up as nicely as I would hope. So I might go ahead and die cut the thank, and then I'm going to restamp just the word you, and then I'll die cut just that. It's just a really long word, you know? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this. You can tell it's not lined up on the second word. So I am going to restamp that word. Just because I'm a perfectionist, I don't want to deal with all of it. You know, I'm working with the product itself. Okay, so I'm taping this over on this side. Taping it right there. I'm going to tape this end. Many places. Now, also, when you're putting it through your die cutting machine, you want this edge right here to hit your die cutting machine first. So if I'm going to have it feed through like this, like most die cutting machines, you have to put the short end in first. I'm going to turn it this way. And that's because there's going to be less opportunity for the dye to wiggle around. So yeah. Oh, I guess I could cut them apart. That is a good idea. Someone in the chat just said that. I think a few of you said it. That's a really good idea. I'm going to do that. I have to make sure. Ooh, that's going to be really close. I have to make sure it's not going to cut too close though. Hold on, let me do this. I cut right there. And then I cut right there. I think that'll be okay. All right, we'll try this. Why not? Okay. So we're just going to cut the think right now, and then we'll come back and do the U. Same rules apply. We want it to go through on the top edge first. Get our little tape everywhere. Put that there. Better than cutting first, then stamp. Well, I think what my issue is that, well, everyone probably has this issue when you use these particular products. The clear stamps can warp and stretch, just like with regular use. It's the same reason why you might have stencils that don't match your stamps perfectly, because the clear stamp material can stretch and kind of move around. So I think, unfortunately, I think it's just the nature of what it is. Yeah. Good call, everyone in the chat telling me to just cut them apart. You're so smart. Okay. We'll get these popped out. Oh, that looks so much better. Done with our die cutting for now, but don't you worry. I die cut all of those letters already. We're gonna pop them up. Look at me. I'm prepared. Most of the time I'm not for these lives. I kind of like wing it, but I knew that I wanted to do black letters and I knew that I wanted to have them popped up. So I decided I would go ahead and cut 3 of the sentiments so I could pop them up. The fastest way that I have done all of my like stacked die cuts is you get everything lined up like this, and then you just do it assembly line style. And it's so fast. I actually learned this tip from Corin Wiskman. She shared this tip in a class over online card classes a few years ago. Now I've got our glue. And this is what we're going to do. We put a little dab of glue. My glue will come out. There we go. Okay. Little dabs of glue on all 3. And then you just go like this. And the glue is all still wet. So now I can move it with my fingers. And we have our stacked letter T. Just that fast. So sometimes it also helps if you have enough glue that it's really going to like blob, so that you have a little bit more slip when you go to stack it. But when you're working so quick like that, it makes it so that you can squidge them around. Okay. There's a little H. I'm actually going to put it under a paperweight. Okay. Like it looks really messy now, but then you just press in on the edges with your fingers. Really press it down together. Clean up any of that glue coming out the sides. We're going to do a little bit of stamping. I thought it'd be really nice to have it say, just a note to say, and then thank you. Okay, and I also really love one of these little grid sheets. What are they? Transparency grid sheets? I don't know. This is the one from Simon Says Stamp. And I have taken a black marker and I've marked exactly where the center of a 5x7 card is. So that will help me get this centered. And then I can close the door of my MISTI and it picks up the little grid sheet with it. Put that to the side. And then I'm just going to use my favorite black ink, Versafine Onyx Black. And I'll stamp this greeting. Oh, I've got a little ink over there. I'm afraid it's going to hit the corner of my card because it's folded. So I'm going to clean that up real quick. I'm going to reapply my ink more carefully this time. Also get a cloth right there. Remember? Gentle, gentle. You don't want it to blob out. Ah, beautiful. Sliding that over a little bit. Okay, I think that's going to be pretty close to being centered. Okay. You know what? I want Tim Holtz to make his ruler a T-square ruler. That would be amazing. Okay. I'm going to lift this up carefully. Very carefully. So here is the finished card. I love how that turns out. Look at the dimension on that. It looks like black puffy letters. Some people in the chat were saying it was very retro looking, and I totally agree. It's kind of 80s, 90s vibes, but also like I feel like there's some 60s in there. It's just, it's a whole historical timeline all in one. I love how it turned out. So thank you so much for watching tonight. All of the supplies are linked down below the video description, and I'll be back later this week with another card video, a regular edited card video to share with you all. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.